Hi, Mob. Warrior Heart Yarns with Aunty Shan, and this first episode is about introducing the warrior heart and why yarns with Aunty Shan. So, in our culture, in Aboriginal culture, and I guess a lot of cultures around the world, yarning is a conversation. It's sitting in circle, often on country, around a table, around a fire, with people, and you're sharing stories, you're unpacking challenges, and you're having yarns that come from the heart. And they're about truth telling, it's about being in your power whilst coming from truth and love and integrity, and just really being together with each other in conversation and storytelling and connection since the beginning of time for our culture. As the oldest living surviving culture in the world, this has been our practices. We're an oral culture. We have taught our children, we have shared our culture and our law, LORE, through yarning and storytelling. And the warrior heart is a movement, it's a philosophy. And in its current iteration, because it's an evolving concept, as I evolve, so will it. It started off initially as the warrior within. Its birthing place was really around me trying to understand, what are my gifts? What is my message that I'm sharing with the world? And I am a lot of things. I weave together a lot of things, hence the life weaving concept. And it's often been very challenging for me, particularly in business and entrepreneurship, where the dominant messaging is that you need to niche down, you need to have a simple message for people to get on board with, otherwise that will limit or impede your success in business. So a lot of this has been an internal journey to better understand my journey, my gifts, my purpose, and how do I share that with the world and better help the world understand what it is that I do. So the warrior heart in its current iteration is to stand in your power, be your truth, and follow your heart. Standing your power is very much from the experiences that I've had as a woman, as a fair-skinned Aboriginal woman, or as a First Nations woman, as a mother, as someone who has been fighting, striving, healing to be herself in a world, all of herself in a world that was not created to see me thrive, that was not created to see me have a voice or be successful or have influence in the world. So being in my power is my birthright as a human being. It's my birthright as a woman and the creator of life in this world. In my body, I bring life into the world. So being in my power is about being fully and unapologetically myself. It's about knowing who I am and what my values are, and being in integrity with that and sharing that through my heart. Be your truth is about, what is your truth? Who are you? And follow your heart. Our hearts know who we are. Our hearts know our purpose. And when you come through that, when you be, lead, and serve from the heart, you bypass the trauma and social conditioning of your head, and you'll also bypass your ego, because our hearts don't lie. And in order to do those things, in order to stand in your power, be your truth, and follow your heart, it takes a warrior spirit, because we live in a world and at a time over the last couple of 100 years, particularly in Australia, where we weren't allowed to be ourselves. Women were the property of men, of their fathers, of their husbands, of systems. Aboriginal people have experienced and been at the mercy for a very long time of white Australia policy and patriarchal and colonial systems. And the world in its current shape and the way it does life and business is that it profits off of low self-esteem. There are billion-dollar industries that are based off of the fact that they tell us that we don't look good enough and that we need to lose weight or you need to look or be a certain way. So to have the courage and the space to be yourself, to stand in your power, to be your truth and follow your heart in a world that doesn't want you to be that wasn't designed to see you thriving from that space, it takes a warrior spirit. And this has been a journey of experience, of becoming, of undoing, of letting go, through my journey to finding my voice. And the reason the heart is such an important thing for me is because that's what I've always followed. I've always been gifted these callings, my ancestral callings, to do something different, to be something different in the world, to look around me and not be defined by my circumstances, other people's opinions, or the reality that's in front of me. And I've always had this gift to feel a vision, an intention in my heart for my next step or the place I feel called to go. And I've had to have the courage to do that, to go someplace I've never been, that no one in my family have ever been. And it can be lonely, it can be confronting, it can be challenging, being the first in your world to do whatever it is that you do. And for me, a lot of those firsts were going to university, starting a business, starting martial arts or sport at an elite level, going overseas, being a mum who is the main income earner for her family and is weaving together purpose, self-development, healing, cultural reconnection, social entrepreneurship, social justice, storytelling, being an elite athlete that competes for Australia in 2 different sports at the same time at one point. I was a member of the National Australian Wrestling team for 3 years. I'm a 3-time national wrestling champion, Oceania wrestling champion. I was a member of the Australian Olympic team that went to Africa in 2016 to pursue my goal of qualifying for the 2016 Rio Olympics, which did not happen. I got dumped on my head, literally. And yet it's all of these things and these experiences weaving together to follow this calling that I have in my heart has required me to stand and be in my power, to speak and be my truth, and to do that through my heart in service of not doing more harm, and to be, lead and serve from that space. Because as I said, when I'm from my heart, I bypass my trauma and social conditioning, all the noise and the voices and the doubts and the fears. And I also bypass my ego, and she can be pretty big as well. And the whole idea of sharing the wisdom, insights and experiences of my life and the things that I do and that I weave together, whether it be in jiu-jitsu and elite competition, my parenting journey, my cultural journey, being a social entrepreneur, being a storyteller, or pursuing world championships. That's the yarning. It's sharing the wisdom and the experiences and the insights that I feel compelled to share. I'm an intuitive speaker, so I often feel the strong urge to get out my phone and just record the message or the insight that's happened for me in the moment. And the idea behind Aunty Shan is that aunties in our communities play many different roles. They're our mothers, they're our other guides, they're a part of the collective who support and empower us to become who we're meant to become in this world, and to be nurtured in that space and in those moments that we need the collective around us. And You have the aunties that are there, that are nurturing, that you can tell anything to, and they will create a safe space for you to just be heard and seen, held and valued. And then they will reflect back with you what have been the lessons or what are the potential next steps. And then you have those tough love aunties who will, when you're doing the wrong thing or you're being the cause of your own problems, will literally smack you up the back of the head and go, oi, pull your head in. But it comes from this place of love, of accountability, to go, oi, you need to pull your head in and you need to check reality and you need to sit in this moment so that we can unpack what's happening and kind of where responsibility needs to be taken. What are the next steps? What are the intentions? And how does that weave together with our cultural responsibilities and who we are in the world, in our homes, in our families, in our communities, and in our culture? Because we have cultural obligations, particularly as Aboriginal women. Our other genders do as well. I only speak from my role as a woman, as a mother, and that's the space that I share from, is that my cultural obligations, as I see it and as it's been given to me by my ancestors, is that I have been called to heal myself, heal all the things through my matriarchal and patriarchal lines by healing myself, not by trying to live my parents or my grandparents or my great-grandparents' stories, or to heal their wounds, but through healing myself, I actually send that healing backwards. And for me, as I understand it in this moment, is that my mum, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, they weren't allowed to be themselves. They were living at a time with the White Australia policy, child removal, and I'm living at a time where there are challenges to being myself, but I can be myself. I have to fight for that, hence the warrior heart. But I have access to resources, to opportunities, to spaces that were not available to them. And when I take up those opportunities, when I take up that space, when I do that healing work, when I share my story and raise my voice, and I be my truth and I follow my heart and stand in my power, that sends healing backwards into those generations that have been impacted by colonization. And when I practice ceremony, when I practice culture, or I learn or teach myself culture, I'm reconnecting myself back to the times of my ancestors prior to colonization, to those unbroken connection lines to our culture and our practices. And through me healing and being my purpose and following my heart in this world, I give permission. I am a role model to those who stand in my generation and who are alive in this time. I hope to be an inspiration of what is possible. I hope to empower the others to find their warrior heart. And I set my children free. I set others who hear my story free in whatever shape or form works for them, because my children get to be themselves. And I made a promise to myself before I even had children to do no more harm through me, as much as was within my power and control, to heal my trauma so that my children didn't become victims of my experiences, and to go even further to create and become a woman who is thriving, who is purpose-led, and who is practicing her culture and being herself unapologetically in a world that wasn't designed to see someone like me thrive. And to give my children permission to be whoever they feel called to be, with the weaving together of their cultures, their identities, and the things they feel called to do and be in the world. So, hey, this is Warrior Heart Yarns with Aunty Shan, and I look forward to sharing more of my journey with you, more insights, more wisdom, other people's journeys. And if you like what you hear, please provide feedback, rate the podcast, send me a DM around what you'd like to hear more of, your feedback or your insights, or how this may have helped you. And I thank you with the deepest of gratitudes for sharing your time, your ears, and being open to walking this journey with me. Big love you, Mom.